The youngest princess of Zithra, Lyra, sat in the royal training hall, her small frame barely noticeable among the tall, imposing forms of her siblings. The echoes of metal clashing and grunts of her older sisters filled the hall, a constant reminder of her own failures. She tried to swing her practice blade, but it trembled in her hands. Another misstep, another stumble. The instructors shook their heads and muttered under their breath. "Princess Lyra, your movements are slow, your reflexes are poor. Again," one instructor said sharply. The words stung, but she nodded silently, trying to focus. She did not have the raw strength of her older sisters, nor the keen mind that her brother displayed in tactical simulations. In the royal court, she had always been called the weak one, and it seemed that title would never leave her. Outside the training hall, the great spires of Zithra glimmered under the twin suns. The alien city stretched high into the clouds, built of crystalline structures that reflected light in sharp colors. From above, the planet looked like a jewel in the void, but Lyra felt trapped within its brilliance. Her heart was heavy with the weight of expectation, and yet no matter how hard she tried, she could not meet it. A voice echoed in the hall, deep and commanding, "Lyra, enough." It was King Varkin, her father, the ruler of Zithra, feared across countless star systems. His voice carried authority that could silence entire assemblies, and his presence was enough to make the strongest warriors kneel. Lyra dropped her blade, her knees weak, and looked up at him. "Father," she whispered, almost too softly to hear. The king's eyes, cold and calculating, met hers. "You are my daughter, yet you falter at every test. You cannot even keep up with the weakest of your siblings. I have watched you struggle, and I have made a decision. One of their colonies is close to gaining technology that could disrupt our empire. You will be a gift to them. You will go and you will serve," the king said firmly. "If you fail, it will not matter. You are the weakest, and your absence will be noted only briefly. Consider this your chance to prove that you are more than I see before me." She was being sent away, not as a princess, not as an honored diplomat, but as a pawn. Her heart sank with shame. She had never felt so small in her life. The preparations were quick. Lyra was fitted with a simple uniform suitable for human environments, her alien elegance hidden beneath practicality. She was given basic supplies, a communicator, and instructions on human customs that were far less sophisticated than Zithra's ways. And finally, she was escorted to the sleek starship that would carry her to Earth. As the engines roared to life and the ship lifted from the crystalline surface of Zithra, Lyra gazed back at her home planet. The spires and cities shimmered in the twin suns' light, but she no longer felt awe. She felt emptiness. This was not adventure, it was exile, a chance for her to prove herself, yes, but also a sentence. She was a fragile alien, placed among beings she did not understand, and alone. The journey through space was long and quiet. Lyra spent hours staring at the stars outside her viewport, thinking about her life on Zithra. She remembered her siblings' laughter during training, her instructors' scornful remarks, and the cold stare of her father. Every memory was a reminder of her weakness, and yet a small spark of determination flickered inside her. Perhaps, she thought, if she learned from these humans, if she understood them, she might survive. When the ship finally entered orbit around Earth's human colony, Lyra felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. The planet looked different from Zithra. Lush green forests, blue oceans, and cities that seemed simple yet functional stretched across the surface. From above, humans appeared small and fragile, scurrying like insects over the land. The landing was smooth, and Lyra stepped onto the colony's surface. The air felt strange against her skin, denser and warmer than Zithra's high atmosphere. Around her, humans moved with purpose, their faces filled with curiosity and caution. They wore practical uniforms, armed with devices and weapons she had never seen. The contrast between their simplicity and the grandeur of Zithra made her feel both superior and vulnerable at the same time. A human approached her, tall and confident. His dark eyes scanned her quickly, and he gave a small nod. "Welcome, Princess Lyra. I'm Captain Alex Rayner. I've been assigned to help you adjust." Simple as that. They relied on strategy, teamwork, and improvisation. Lyra, used to relying on her alien reflexes and minimal effort, felt frustrated. Every time she failed a drill or misjudged a movement, she thought of her father's disappointed gaze. "You're not using your strengths," Alex said one evening after Lyra had fallen during a mock combat exercise. He offered her a hand, helping her to stand. "You think you're weak because you can't do things the way we do them, but strength isn't just muscle or speed. It's how you think, how you adapt. You have alien abilities, but you haven't learned to use them the human way." I cannot be like you." And though doubt still gnawed at her, a small flame of hope ignited. One night, as she lay in the small quarters assigned to her, Lyra looked out the viewport at the stars. She thought of Zithra, of her father, and of the court that had never believed in her. And then she thought of the humans, fragile, resourceful, daring humans who had welcomed her into their world, even cautiously. She realized something important. She had a choice. She could remain the weak princess she had always been, or she could try, really try, to grow into someone more. The next morning, Lyra began training with renewed focus. She combined her alien agility with human tactics, practicing relentlessly. Every stumble became a lesson, every failure a step forward. Alex noticed the change and nodded in approval. "You're learning," he said simply. "Now let's see if you can use it when it matters." They began to respect her quietly without the need for grand gestures, but not all eyes were on her with admiration. Far above, in orbit around Zithra, sensors picked up her progress. Spies reported back to King Varkin. "The weakest daughter," they said, "is growing stronger. She is learning their ways, adapting. This is unexpected." He had sent her as a disposable pawn, expecting failure. Instead, reports suggested that Lyra was learning, improving, even inspiring humans to fight harder and smarter. A small, dangerous thought began to form in his mind. Had he underestimated her? Lyra, unaware of the alien eyes watching her, continued her training. She learned to anticipate human tactics, combining them with her alien instincts. Slowly, the weak princess began to feel a new sense of power, not just strength, but confidence, skill, and determination. She was far from ready to face the real challenges ahead, but for the first time in her life, Lyra believed she might survive. And maybe, just maybe, she could thrive. The stars stretched infinitely above the colony, silent witnesses to the beginning of her transformation. The weakest daughter of an alien king had landed among humans. Alone, underestimated, and untested, she was about to discover what it truly meant to be strong. And the humans, they had no idea what was coming. Lyra woke before dawn, the first pale rays of the human sun filtering through the small window of her quarters. Her muscles ached from the previous day's training, but she ignored the pain. She had learned that human strength was not measured solely by size or muscle. It was measured by persistence, ingenuity, and courage. She did not yet fully understand all of it, but she knew she had to try. Alex Rayner was already waiting outside the training grounds when she arrived. His presence was calm, steady, and commanding without needing grandeur or threats. "Good morning, Princess," he said, though there was no mockery in his voice. "Today we work on tactics and teamwork." Their bodies were weaker, their reflexes slower, yet they had strategies and ingenuity she had never encountered. On Zithra, battles were often won by power and skill, but humans fought differently. They relied on planning, adaptability, and quick thinking, and strangely, they inspired one another. "Follow me," Alex said, leading her to a wide training field surrounded by simple structures, barriers, walls, and open spaces designed for simulated combat. A small group of human soldiers trained in defense and strategy waited for her. Some looked curious, some skeptical. None looked afraid. Lyra adjusted her stance, gripping her practiced blade with both hands. She had grown more confident in her agility and reflexes, but she still struggled to combine her alien instincts with human techniques. Alex approached her. "Remember, it's not just about striking, it's about anticipating. Watch your allies, predict the opponent, use the environment, combine what you have with what they have." Could she really do this? Could she ever survive in this strange human world? The exercise began. The humans moved in coordinated groups, setting up ambushes and traps. Lyra darted forward instinctively, relying on her Zithran speed and agility. She quickly realized that raw power alone was insufficient. Humans could move unpredictably, using strategy to counter her abilities. Every misstep left her vulnerable. "Stop!" Alex's voice rang out. Lyra froze, panting. "You're rushing, you're using strength without thinking. Humans anticipate. You must think like them, not just move faster." Instead of charging forward, she observed her opponents. She noticed patterns in their movements, pauses that hinted at traps, subtle gestures signaling intentions. She moved again, this time with caution and calculation. She dodged a human strike and used her momentum to push past a barrier, surprising her teammates. They adapted to her presence, coordinating around her, and together they executed a plan that allowed them to outmaneuver the others. Alex's eyes widened slightly. "Better," he said. "Much better, you're starting to understand." not because she was stronger than humans, but because she had learned to use her mind as well as her body. Over the following days, Lyra's training intensified. She practiced human combat drills, survival tactics, and strategic simulations. The humans were patient but rigorous, pushing her to her limits without cruelty. Slowly, she began to understand that strength could take many forms. One afternoon, after a grueling obstacle course, she collapsed onto the ground, sweat and dirt covering her. She glanced at the human soldiers around her. They were exhausted too, but they smiled, joked, and encouraged one another. It was not arrogance or superiority that bound them. It was camaraderie and resilience. Lyra's eyes widened. You fight like this together?" she asked Alex between breaths. He nodded. "Yes, alone we are weak, together we are strong. That is what humans understand. That is why we survive even against enemies far stronger than us." For the first time, she wondered if she had been looking at strength all wrong. The progress did not go unnoticed. Reports reached Zithra and King Varkin frowned. The spies described her growing confidence, her ability to adapt, and the subtle influence she was having on humans. "The weak daughter," he muttered, his voice low and tense. "She is learning from them. She is changing." Lyra observed the battlefield from behind a barrier. Humans rushed into positions, setting traps and coordinating signals. She spotted patterns, identifying the weak points of the imaginary enemy. Her Zithran instincts told her to charge forward, strike, and end the fight quickly. But she restrained herself. This time, she thought, she would combine speed with strategy. As the simulation continued, Lyra directed the human soldiers, using subtle gestures and quick instructions. She moved alongside them, using her alien reflexes to dodge attacks and assist her allies. Every action was a balance between her heritage and the techniques she had learned. By the end of the exercise, the simulated enemy had been defeated. The humans cheered quietly, and even Alex allowed himself a small smile. "Well done, Lyra. You are starting to understand what it means to fight alongside humans." That evening she sat alone, cleaning her practice blade when a human soldier approached. He was younger, with nervous eyes, and clearly intimidated by her presence. "Princess, I wanted to say, thank you. You led us today. We followed because you gave us direction. I never thought an alien could teach us anything. But you did." This small human had shown her something she had not expected: respect and gratitude. She realized that her journey was no longer about surviving. It was about inspiring, guiding, and learning in return. As the days turned into weeks, Lyra's skills improved dramatically. She mastered human tactics, combined them with her alien speed, and began to anticipate outcomes in ways her instructors had not thought possible. Humans looked to her as a capable leader, even if she still carried the title of weak princess. She began to understand human culture, their ways of thinking, their humor, and their determination. She listened to stories of battles fought against impossible odds, of colonies defended with clever strategies rather than brute strength. She realized that humans were fragile, yes, but their resilience and courage were unparalleled. One evening, as she watched the sun set over the colony, she thought about her father, King Varkin. On Zithra, weakness was despised. Humans, however, valued growth, courage, and adaptability. Lyra smiled faintly. Perhaps her father had underestimated not only her, but also the humans she was beginning to admire. The following week brought her first real test outside of training, a scouting mission to a nearby outpost suspected of harboring rogue alien technology. Alex chose her to lead, trusting her judgment and newly acquired skills. Lyra felt a mixture of fear and excitement. This was not a simulation. This was real. The mission began with careful reconnaissance. Lyra directed the humans to positions, identified potential threats, and devised a plan to secure the outpost. Her alien instincts helped her detect subtle movements and unusual signals, while her human training taught her patience and observation. When they finally reached the outpost, a small group of rogue alien operatives appeared, aiming to sabotage the colony. Lyra felt her heart race. This was the moment she had been preparing for, but instead of panicking, she relied on the lessons she had learned. She signaled her team, coordinated their movements, and used clever traps to outmaneuver the intruders. By the end of the encounter, the rogue aliens had been captured and the outpost secured. Lyra's team looked at her with newfound respect. She realized that she had not only survived her first real mission but had led it successfully. When they returned to the colony, Alex nodded approvingly. "You've done well, Lyra. You are becoming a true warrior, not because of raw power, but because of your mind, courage, and leadership." For the first time, she believed in herself, not because she had been told she was strong, but because she had proven it through action. Far above, Zithra's spies reported back. King Varkin's expression darkened further. His weak daughter was no longer weak. She was learning, adapting, and inspiring humans. The smallest threat could now become a formidable force. Lyra, unaware of the worries she had stirred across the stars, continued her training. She knew that greater challenges awaited, that her journey was just beginning. But for now, she had discovered something essential. Strength was not just about power, but about courage, adaptability, and the willingness to grow. The humans had taught her this, and she had embraced it fully. And as she looked out at the colony that had become her new home, she felt a sense of purpose she had never known on Zithra. She was no longer simply a weak princess. She was a student, a leader, and perhaps in time a warrior capable of facing anything the universe could throw at her. The days of doubt and fear were fading. In their place grew determination, skill, and confidence. The humans had shown her a new kind of strength, and she had begun to claim it for herself. And somewhere deep inside, Lyra knew that this was only the beginning. The alarm blared across the human colony, shattering the quiet morning. Lyra jolted upright from her quarters, her senses instantly alert. Her training had prepared her for simulations, but this was different. This was real. Through the viewport, she saw alien ships approaching the colony from the void, sleek and deadly, their energy signatures unlike anything humans could easily match. Captain Alex Rayner appeared at her door, his face calm but urgent. "Lyra, they're attacking. We need every hand. This is no drill." She remembered her lessons, strategy, observation, and using her alien agility in combination with human tactics. She nodded, swallowing her doubt. "I'm ready," she said firmly. The humans gathered quickly, taking positions across the colony's defensive barriers. Lyra moved among them, directing the soldiers with precise instructions. Her voice was calm and commanding, guiding humans to ambush points, alerting them to weak spots in the approaching ship's formations, and coordinating defensive fire. Her alien speed allowed her to move quickly between positions, carrying messages and supplies with ease. The first wave of alien attackers descended. Energy blasts streaked across the sky, and defensive turrets fired relentlessly. The humans fought bravely, using every tactic Lyra had drilled into them. She observed patterns in the enemy's approach, predicting their movements and adjusting the colony's defense accordingly. Her mind raced, blending human ingenuity with her own alien instincts. A squad of enemy soldiers managed to land near the outer perimeter. They were faster and stronger than humans, moving with lethal precision. Lyra could have faced them head-on with her alien strength, but she remembered Alex's teachings. Strength alone would not win this battle. She had to think. She signaled a nearby group of human soldiers to create a diversion. Then, using her agility, she darted through the shadows, striking at the enemy's weak points and leading them into traps. Each move was calculated, each action precise. The humans followed her lead, and together they turned the tide of the battle. Lyra's mind worked faster than ever before. She coordinated defensive turrets with human squads, setting traps that funneled enemies into narrow corridors. She anticipated attacks and used her alien reflexes to dodge lethal strikes. Slowly, the alien forces began to falter. They had underestimated the humans and Lyra. Amid the chaos, Lyra noticed a small human child trapped near the center of the colony. Without hesitation, she sprinted toward him, dodging energy blasts and enemy soldiers alike. She scooped him up just as a blast destroyed the platform where he had been standing. The child clung to her, trembling, and she whispered, "You're safe now. Stay behind me." Seeing her courage, they fought with renewed determination, covering her retreat and countering the enemy with precision. Lyra realized that leadership was more than strategy. It was about inspiring confidence and courage in others, even in the face of danger. The battle raged for hours. Lyra moved tirelessly, her body pushed to its limits, but her mind remained sharp. She directed ambushes, rescued trapped civilians, and coordinated defensive fire. The humans, following her lead, displayed ingenuity and bravery she had never seen in simulations. Their determination impressed her deeply. They were fragile, yes, but their spirit was unbreakable. Finally, the alien attackers began to retreat. Lyra had anticipated a secondary wave and set traps to slow their withdrawal. Energy blasts tore through their formations, forcing them to flee back to their ships. The colony had survived. The humans cheered, exhausted but victorious, and Lyra allowed herself a brief moment of relief. Alex approached her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Lyra, you did it. You led us. You saved lives." You've become more than I imagined. Humans and aliens alike took notice of the young Zitharan princess who had led a human colony to victory against superior forces. Some humans whispered in awe, while others simply shook their heads in disbelief. They had never seen someone from the alien race, known for arrogance and brutality, fight alongside humans with respect and trust. Back on Zithara, King Varkin received the reports. His expression darkened and he rose from his throne, pacing in the grand hall. She has grown stronger, he muttered. The humans, she fights with them, she is no longer weak. My daughter is learning their ways, this is unexpected. She visited the wounded, offered encouragement, and helped the humans rebuild defenses damaged in the attack. Each interaction strengthened her resolve. She was not just a princess or a warrior, she was a bridge between species, a symbol of unity and courage. The next day, a council of human leaders gathered to discuss the attack. Lyra attended, standing among them not as a foreigner, but as an equal. She listened carefully, asked questions, and offered suggestions based on her observations and experience. Her insights were sharp, her strategies effective, and her presence commanded respect. One human officer leaned toward Alex, whispering, "I didn't think she could handle real combat, but she's brilliant. She sees things we miss." She began training more rigorously, combining alien reflexes with human tactics, refining strategies, and testing new defensive maneuvers. Each day brought challenges, and each challenge made her stronger, faster, and more confident. During one intense training session, Lyra sparred with a group of elite human soldiers. The exercise simulated an alien assault, and she had to react instantly to threats from multiple directions. Her alien speed allowed her to dodge and strike with precision, while her human training enabled her to coordinate with her teammates. By the end of the exercise, she had outmaneuvered the humans multiple times, earning applause and admiration. "That's incredible," Alex said, observing her. "You've taken what you've learned and improved upon it. You're becoming a force they won't forget." She was becoming something far greater. Her transformation did not go unnoticed by the humans. They began to seek her guidance in strategy, combat drills, and decision-making. She learned from them as much as they learned from her, creating a partnership built on mutual respect and trust. The humans, in turn, discovered new ways to adapt to alien tactics, inspired by Lyra's insight and courage. One night, as she sat watching the stars from the colony's observation deck, Alex joined her. "You've done well today," he said quietly. "The humans look to you not just as an ally, but as a leader. You've learned that, and now others are learning it too." She was a warrior in her own right, capable of facing danger, inspiring others, and using her mind as effectively as her body. The following weeks were a flurry of activity. Lyra led reconnaissance missions, trained new recruits, and helped fortify the colony. Each mission tested her in new ways, forcing her to adapt and grow. Her confidence increased, and with it, the humans around her became more organized, more daring, and more resilient. Then one morning, scouts reported a larger alien fleet approaching the colony. Lyra gathered the humans and assessed the situation. This was no simulation. This was a full-scale attack. Her mind raced, combining every lesson she had learned. The human reliance on strategy and improvisation, her alien reflexes and agility, and her own growing instinct for leadership. As the first ships entered the colony's defensive perimeter, Lyra directed her forces with precision. Traps were set, firing lines coordinated, and ambushes carefully planned. Every move was calculated, every decision crucial. The humans followed her lead without hesitation, their trust in her absolute. Lyra felt a surge of determination. This was the moment she had trained for, the moment to prove not just her own strength, but the strength of the humans she now respected and called allies. She was no longer weak. She was a warrior. And as the first energy blasts lit the sky, Lyra led her team into battle, fearless, determined, and ready to face whatever the universe threw at them. The morning air was heavy with tension. The human colony, though victorious in the previous attacks, was still recovering. Supplies had been damaged, defensive lines reinforced, and civilians were anxious. Lyra walked among them, offering guidance and reassurance, but a shadow of unease lingered in her mind. She had felt the alien threat grow stronger with each encounter, and now an even more dangerous challenge was looming, one that was not just external, but from within. Reports from scouts had indicated unusual movements among the colony's ranks. Equipment had been tampered with, communications intercepted, and key defensive points left vulnerable. Lyra's instincts, honed by her alien heritage and human training, told her something was wrong. There was a traitor among them. She convened a council with Captain Alex and the senior human officers. "We have evidence that someone has betrayed us," she said, her voice steady despite the urgency. "We cannot take this lightly. The aliens are planning another attack and they now have knowledge of our defenses. We need to act quickly." Could it be a mistake in the reports? Trust had been built over weeks of training and fighting together, but the idea that one among them could betray the colony shook even the most steadfast soldiers. Lyra decided to take action herself. Using her alien speed and human tactical insight, she began discreetly observing her allies. She noted subtle behaviors, glances exchanged, hesitation in communication, and moments when certain soldiers seemed to disappear without explanation. Slowly, a pattern emerged. One soldier, a communications officer named Darren, appeared in all suspicious incidents. His movements, though subtle, betrayed him. That night, Lyra approached Alex privately. "I think we have a traitor," she said quietly. "Darren, he's been compromising our defenses and relaying information to the enemy. We need to confront him carefully." "Let's plan carefully." Lyra's reflexes were faster. She disarmed him with a swift movement, her alien speed leaving him stunned. "You endangered everyone," she said firmly. "Your choices have consequences. The humans you serve now will decide your fate." The betrayal left a bitter taste in everyone's mouth. Lyra realized that leadership was not only about fighting enemies outside, but also about protecting against threats from within. The colony barely had time to recover from the internal betrayal when new intelligence arrived. A larger alien force, led by a commander loyal to King Varkin, was en route to reclaim the territory. Lyra gathered her human soldiers. Her mind raced, combining all she had learned from humans and her own alien instincts. "This is our chance to prove that humans are not weak," she said, her voice firm and commanding. "We will defend this colony with every skill we have. We will use strategy, ingenuity, and courage. And we will survive because we fight together." Energy blasts streaked across the sky, and the humans executed complex maneuvers she had taught them. Despite being outnumbered, they fought with determination and coordination. Lyra's hybrid approach, using alien reflexes and human tactics, allowed her to strike at critical targets, disrupting enemy formations. Midway through the battle, an explosion shook the colony. Lyra realized that Darren had left hidden sabotage devices before his capture. Panic threatened to spread, but she took a deep breath and acted quickly. She led a small team to neutralize the explosives, moving with speed and precision that surprised even her human allies. The team worked together seamlessly, following Lyra's instructions while adapting to unforeseen obstacles. The explosives were disabled, and the potential disaster was averted. The humans looked at her with awe. This fragile alien princess had saved them from imminent destruction. The battle raged on, more intense than any Lyra had faced before. Enemy soldiers infiltrated defensive lines, forcing humans to react quickly. Lyra darted across the battlefield, guiding teams, disarming enemies, and coordinating counterattacks. Her mind worked faster than ever, calculating probabilities, anticipating movements, and adjusting strategies in real time. At one point, she faced an alien commander directly. He towered over her, his strength far superior, but she did not falter. Using her agility, she dodged his strikes, baiting him into a narrow corridor where humans had set traps. The enemy commander was caught off guard, and Lyra's team neutralized him efficiently. The humans were inspired, fighting harder and smarter with each passing moment. Lyra's presence had transformed them from ordinary defenders into a cohesive, formidable force. Her leadership showed them that intelligence, courage, and coordination could overcome raw power. Despite the chaos, Lyra noticed the human soldiers beginning to trust one another more deeply. Fear was replaced with confidence, hesitation with decisiveness. She realized that her role was not only to fight, but to nurture that trust, to ensure that the humans believed in their own strength. As the final waves of the alien force began to falter, Lyra spotted a small squad attempting to retreat with stolen supplies and weaponry. She and a group of humans intercepted them, cutting off their escape. With careful coordination, they captured the remaining enemies, ensuring that none would threaten the colony again in the immediate future. When the battle finally ended, the colony stood victorious. Buildings were damaged and supplies lost, but the people were alive, and their spirit remained unbroken. Lyra, exhausted but resolute, surveyed the battlefield. Humans had fought valiantly, and she had guided them, combining her alien abilities with their ingenuity to achieve victory. Alex approached, his face reflecting both relief and pride. "You've done it again, Lyra. The humans fought brilliantly, and you led them. You've grown into a true warrior and a leader." Lyra's leadership, courage, and tactical brilliance had saved the colony, but the humans' determination and adaptability had been equally vital. She had shown them the potential that lay within, and they had risen to meet it. As night fell over the colony, Lyra walked among the survivors, offering words of comfort and encouragement. She understood something she had not before. Being a warrior was not only about fighting enemies, but also about protecting and inspiring those who depended on her. She was no longer the weak daughter of a distant king. She was a guide, a protector, and a symbol of courage. Far above, in orbit around Zithra, King Varkin's anger and concern deepened. His spies reported the events of the battle in detail. Lyra's abilities, her leadership, and the humans' success all contradicted his expectations. "She has changed," he muttered. "The humans, she fights with them, inspires them. She is no longer the weak daughter I dismissed. She may even surpass them all if we are not careful." She knew the battle was won for now, but the universe was vast and full of threats. Every victory brought new challenges, and she would need to continue learning, adapting, and growing. Yet, despite the danger ahead, Lyra felt a new sense of confidence. She had faced betrayal, danger, and overwhelming odds. She had led humans to victory, combining alien speed and skill with human strategy and resilience. She had become more than she ever imagined possible. In the quiet moments when the colony was safe and the humans rested, Lyra reflected on her journey. She had been sent away as a weak, fragile princess expected to fail. Instead, she had learned, adapted, and grown. She was no longer weak. She was a warrior, a leader, and a symbol of hope. And she knew that the greatest challenges were yet to come. Enemy forces would return more powerful and cunning than before. Betrayal could strike again. The weight of leadership rested on her shoulders. But she also knew something more important. With courage, intelligence, and trust, humans and aliens together could face any threat. Lyra had found her place among humans, and in doing so, she had discovered her true strength. She was no longer merely a pawn in her father's game. She was a fighter, a strategist, and a protector. The weak daughter of an alien king had transformed into something extraordinary. The stars above the colony shone brightly, silent witnesses to her journey. Lyra looked up at them, determination in her eyes. The path ahead was dangerous and uncertain, but she was ready. She would continue to fight, to learn, and to lead. And when the next battle came, Lyra would be ready, not just as a princess, not just as an alien, but as a warrior forged through courage, experience, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. The human colony stood tense under the twin suns as scouts reported the approach of a massive alien fleet. The ships, far larger and more numerous than any Lyra had seen before, shimmered like dark stars in the sky, their weapons ready to rain destruction. This was no ordinary attack. This was personal. King Varkin himself had arrived, sending his elite forces to retrieve his daughter and reclaim control over the territory. Lyra stood on the observation deck, her hands clenched. Her human allies moved with quiet determination, readying defensive positions and reinforcing barriers. She knew that victory here would require everything she had learned: the agility and reflexes of her Zithran heritage, the cunning and strategy of human combat, and the courage to lead her people into the impossible. Alex Rayner approached, his expression calm but grave. "Lyra, this is the moment we've trained for. Your people are counting on you, and so are we. Remember everything you've learned. You are not alone. We survived together." Her alien speed allowed her to move where no human could reach in time, her presence becoming a symbol of hope and coordination. Enemy boarding parties attempted to infiltrate the colony, but Lyra anticipated their moves. She darted among them, striking with precision, forcing them into traps that humans had prepared. Each ambush was carefully calculated, combining human ingenuity and her own reflexes. Soldiers followed her guidance, executing maneuvers that turned what should have been overwhelming attacks into manageable skirmishes. Amid the chaos, Lyra spotted a familiar figure descending from one of the alien command ships, King Varkin himself. His towering frame radiated power, and his eyes burned with authority and fury. The humans around her froze, awed and fearful, but Lyra did not falter. She met her father's gaze with unwavering resolve. "You've grown bold, Lyra," Varkin said, his voice echoing across the battlefield. You fight with humans, you dare defy me. I fight to protect those who cannot protect themselves. I fight with humans because they are brave, resourceful, and strong in ways even you cannot understand. I am not weak, and I will not be your pawn. Each movement was precise, calculated, blending her alien reflexes with human strategy. She drew her blade, moving with a speed that even seasoned human soldiers could barely follow. The humans rallied behind her, inspired by her courage. They executed strategies she had trained them in, flanking Varkin's elite soldiers and setting traps that disrupted their formations. Energy blasts and tactical maneuvers flowed seamlessly, a dance of precision that combined alien ability and human cunning. Varkin struck again, his strikes powerful enough to tear through walls. Lyra dodged, weaving between energy blasts and debris. She used her knowledge of the terrain, guiding humans to use barriers and high ground to their advantage. She had become a leader who could anticipate both alien and human behavior, turning every threat into an opportunity. As the battle intensified, Lyra realized she needed to confront Varkin directly. She leapt across a gap, landing in front of him, her blade raised. "Father, I am not the weak daughter you sent away. I am a warrior, and I choose my own path." Their combat was a blur of speed, strength, and strategy. Each strike tested Lyra's limits, but she adapted with every move, using feints, counters, and clever positioning to keep her father off balance. Humans watched in awe as she faced the most powerful alien in the galaxy with courage and intelligence, guiding their own attacks from the periphery. During a brief pause, Lyra saw an opening. She had learned to combine her alien agility with human tactics, predicting her father's strikes and exploiting weaknesses in his approach. She feinted, drawing Varkin into a trap set by human soldiers. Energy blasts struck, momentarily stunning him. Lyra seized the opportunity, striking with precision, not to kill but to demonstrate her skill and determination. Varkin staggered, a rare expression of surprise crossing his face. "Impressive," he admitted, his voice low and grudging. "You have learned much, perhaps too much. I am my own person, and I fight with those I respect." In a final, daring maneuver, Lyra led a small team of humans through a concealed tunnel, flanking Varkin's main force. They struck at critical systems, disrupting his command and communications. The alien fleet faltered as their coordinated attacks broke down. Varkin, realizing the battle was slipping away, raised his hand, and energy surged around him. "You have learned well, Lyra. But this is not over. You will pay for your defiance." Humans had defended their colony, guided by a princess they had once doubted. Lyra had proven herself not only to them, but to herself. She was no longer fragile, no longer the weak daughter of a distant king. She was a warrior, a leader, and a symbol of unity between species. As the dust settled, Lyra walked among the humans, offering words of encouragement and reassurance. Soldiers who had once doubted her abilities now looked at her with admiration and respect. Civilians, inspired by her courage, began rebuilding their homes and defenses with renewed determination. Alex approached, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did it, Lyra. You've led humans to victory against impossible odds. You've proven that strength comes from more than power. It comes from courage, intelligence, and heart." Across the galaxy, tales emerged of the alien princess who fought alongside humans, turning defeat into victory through strategy, courage, and leadership. She had become a symbol not only for humans, but for any being who doubted themselves. Strength was not merely a gift of birth or power. It was forged through perseverance, learning, and the will to rise beyond limitations. Back on Zithera, King Varkin received reports of his daughter's victory. His expression was unreadable, a mixture of anger, pride, and awe. She has surpassed my expectations," he admitted quietly. "The humans she fights with them inspires them. My daughter is no longer weak. Perhaps she is stronger than I imagined." She knew this victory was only one battle, one moment in a universe full of challenges. But she also knew something crucial. Humans, with their ingenuity, courage, and heart, were formidable allies. Together, they could face even the greatest threats. In the days following the battle, Lyra helped the humans rebuild and prepare for future conflicts. She continued to train, refine strategies, and strengthen bonds between humans and aliens. Her presence inspired confidence, unity, and resilience. She had become more than a warrior. She had become a leader, a mentor, and a symbol of hope. One evening, as she looked up at the stars, Lyra reflected on her journey. She had been sent away as a weak, fragile princess expected to fail. She had faced betrayal, danger, and overwhelming odds. She had led humans to victory and had grown stronger with every challenge. She was no longer defined by weakness, nor by the expectations of her father or her world. She was Lyra, warrior, leader, and protector. Alex joined her, gazing at the stars. "You've come far, Lyra. You've become everything I hoped you could be and more. You've shown them what humans can be when guided by courage and wisdom." And as the twin suns set over the human colony, Lyra knew this was only the beginning. The universe would continue to test her, but she was ready. She would face any challenge, protect those who could not protect themselves, and continue to inspire both humans and aliens alike. The weak daughter of an alien king had become a fierce warrior. She had proven herself, not through birthright, but through courage, strategy, and the indomitable spirit that now burned within her. And the humans who had once seemed fragile to her had become her allies, her friends, and her greatest source of inspiration. Together, they had survived the impossible. Together, they would face whatever the universe dared to throw at them. Lyra, standing tall among the humans she had come to respect and lead, smiled. She was ready, and nothing, not even a king, an empire, or the vast darkness of space, could stop her now.